What up, is Guru Jojo, and in this particular video I'm actually going to be speaking about psychedelics. Before I even get into this topic in particular, I just wanted to be known I'm not necessarily going against the usage of that substance, neither am I for it. I'm just giving out the information that I understand. Listen, people do whatever they want. Human beings are very indulgent people. I don't care how much. With that being said, going back to the topic on psychedelics, right? That's what I'm saying. I'm just giving out the information that I understand now. Keep in mind, I've never done psychedelics before. I don't plan on doing it. Believe it or not, I'm a chicken. I'm one of those people that I'm afraid to take my mind out of certain states of consciousness. I believe this is something to do with my past life. I think I probably was a Native American, honestly, that was doing mad psychedelics and just chilling. I think I was very lazy in a past life, and I used to just do psychedelics and stuff because it reflects in the way that my brain functions in this current lifetime, right? So that's how I kind of have a feeling I'm afraid to do stuff like that, but for some reason my mind is already there. The only thing I could think of is I must have been doing some shit in my past life. So anyways, with that being said, right, psychedelics, all right, at the end of the day, this is a drug. It's a psychoactive substance. And you gotta remember, when it comes to psychoactive substances, they're always messing with your psyche, your senses, the way that you're perceiving information. And it's a psyche manipulation. It's a psyche trickster. Okay, so this means that your psyche is in la la land, you're seeing an imaginative and illusionary world. Now, with that being said, this is probably okay to do, for recreational purposes once in a while, but the thing is, you got to think of the long-term effects of such things, because if you're putting your mind in a state of consciousness that really it does not exist to other people who are not taking that substance to be in that state of consciousness, because the majority of the rest of the world is in tune with Earth. They're in tune with the reality of things. Psychedelics take you out of that, and you start to see things that are being fabricated based upon your imagination. Doesn't make it unreal, but it makes it represented in a way based upon your imagination, your preference, your mood, so then you have to think about things okay, what permanent effects does something like that have on me? And a lot of people like to try to act I see these articles and stuff, there's no permanent effects. Any drug gives off a permanent effect on the brain, because at the end of the day, when you use a psychoactive substance or a drug, you are triggering your brain to send off chemicals, and those chemicals is what allows your brain to function a certain way, and thus why you get those effects from the psychoactive substance or the drug. Literally, drugs, what they're doing is they're producing a confusion in your brain. It tricks your brain. So for example, what it does is it either mimics a receptor, and this receptor influences a chemical effect. It'll influence your brain to send off certain neurotransmitters, right, to your muscles, to your brain or whatever. And this influences the way that you end up perceiving yourself in life, which is an illusion because your brain is not naturally doing it, which is fine. This is the reason why it works for relieving symptoms for people, but at the end of the day, it's going to cause permanent damage on your brain eventually, because the way your brain works is whatever energy keeps happening, your brain stops to produce it. Your brain stops producing it, is what I'm trying to say. So for example, if you keep utilizing a particular substance that is increasing the happy energy in your brain, right, which is normally this is serotonin, right, then what's going to happen is your brain naturally is going to stop producing serotonin. because you keep utilizing substances that's increasing serotonin. If you keep utilizing a substance that keeps increasing a chemical in your brain reacts by not producing it anymore. Do you understand? That's how your brain works. Like, your brain literally works in the opposite. It tries to balance, it tries to relate to you. So it sees that you keep producing a chemical response, then it stops producing that chemical because it figures you're already gonna find means to set it off. So it stops producing it. So yeah, that actually is a permanent effect on your brain. This is the same reason why people who are addicted to stuff like heroin and whatnot, they usually overdose when they change what? Locations, because the brain did not respond to the preparance of them using that substance. So for example,
the preparation.
What I mean by this is usually with people who are on something like heroin, right, they do it in the same location. The brain recognizes the location, the home environment that's related to that drug, and it thus prepares for the person to use that drug. That's your brain. Your body in general is trying to always keep you together. So when it knows you're going to use something like that based off of something as simple as location, literally your body will start to fire off chemicals to spike up your blood pressure, to spike up your heart rate, because when you do something like heroin, all that stuff is going to drop. And that's the reason why people will oftentimes like keep living. And then as soon as they change locations or something like that, the brain is not familiar and did not know that they were about to do that substance. You see? And then that's the reason why they may end up overdosing, because the brain never sent those signals to the body to amplify the bodily functions. You see? What had inspired this topic anyway was basically because I was reading an article that stated, psychedelics could possibly cure depression. I've read this a couple times. They say like stuff like ketamine and stuff. Listen, I haven't done any particular deep research on this being factual, but here's what I do know. I know that psychedelics put you into an illusion, which means that your perception of reality is completely separate from those around you, right? Unless you're only hanging out with other people who only use this substance too, you don't really have shit to ever do, like, because at the end of the day, like, you're in an illusion. Like, you're seeing reality based upon, your imagination and like the darker forces of life, right? Which most people don't pay attention to. Okay. So with that being said, I don't really understand how it can cure something like depression, except for the fact that you're only being put into a false life. Meaning, like, you're not curing depression, you're just not living your life. Which, it's like weird to think, because it's like kind of like, okay, maybe that's why people are depressed in the first place, because they're not happy with reality. So with that being said, here's the question that I raise, right? If depression pretty much is mainly caused by a disconnect from the earth, right? Feeling a sense of disconnection to reality, to earth, thus feeling senses of limitation. And now you could take a substance that puts you beyond those limits by presenting an illusion to you, like a 4D effect, right? Almost like wearing those simulator glasses and seeing a completely different world. And now you feel a sense of connection. But that connection is to nothing. It's to an illusion, right? But you feel a sense of connection, and now this is helping to cure depression. My issue with this is that as soon as that illusion is gone, that's going to put somebody in a completely detrimental state. Now, on the other hand, if somebody uses a psychedelic, right? And they have depression. And then they end up seeing something that helps now connect them to reality. That's different. I would say that's makes sense, and that would be a good cure to depression. If like somebody's able to take a psychedelic, and then whatever they were able to see has now caused a change in how they are perceiving reality, and now suddenly they feel a sense of connection, and this is helping them to feel a sense of willpower on a day-to-day basis all of a sudden, and they don't have to continuously keep using a substance to see an illusion, to see an illusion, to see an illusion. Like I'm speaking on, you took a psychedelic and you suddenly realize something about life, and now you feel connected to earth. This is like similar to DMT effects, from what I understand. People who have taken DMT have had this effect. That's different. So, you know what I'm saying? It just really depends. But if you keep having to take psychedelics to feel a sense of like happiness in life, this is not good, because you're destroying your brain. Because like I said, drugs, psychoactive substances, which psychedelics are a part of, they affect the way your brain functions permanently if you use it on a pretty often basis. And something like psychedelics, I feel like, is a strong drug, but maybe I could be wrong, I don't know. But at the end of the day, the neurotransmitters, the chemicals in your brain that keep getting stimulated from the drugs that you use, or the neurotransmitters or the chemicals in your brain that keep getting stimulated by a psychoactive substance that a person is utilizing, will stop functioning. So which means that if you are addicted to something like psychedelics, which from what I understand, most people aren't really addicted to it. People who use psychedelics oftentimes, I think they use it for creative purposes. I don't know, okay? But my thing is that what's gonna happen is this is gonna naturally take away from your creativity. If you're a person who needs to use that for creativity, then when you're not on it, those creative chemicals in your brain, they're not going to work unless you're on the substance. Like, so you force yourself to need the substance. That's the problem with like utilizing psychoactive substances too much, or overusing the substance, because you cause your brain to stop naturally creating the chemical that's related to that functioning. So yeah, that's all I really want to speak about in this video. This is the scarves that you can wear, as a mask. Alright. The thing with these is they come in threes. So you can get 3 of this color. You can get 3 of the blue color. Let me put the blue one out. Right. And I'm supposed to be getting the black and gold one soon. So yeah, you would get 3 of them, or you can get the 3-pack variety, which would be like 1 of these, right? 1 of these, and then 1 of the black and gold one. Just putting it out there. So anyways, thank you for watching. All right, blessings, light, and love to everyone. Stay safe and healthy. Peace out.